Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome back to my channel. I am going to do an update on the Celebration of Women journal project that morphed into a four-journal process. And hopefully, once I show you what I've done since the last episode, I think this is probably maybe part 4 by now. Anyway, excuse me, I will show you what I've done, and then I've left some projects that we can do together. So I'll start with the little guy first. I typically, oh, did you notice I sort of cleaned my mat just for you? I should say that I do use these El Cheapo cutting boards mats from the dollar store. You know, it's not so bad if these get grunged up with ink or glue or whatever. I'm just not using it today because, of course, it would create glare for you. I tend to use clips to sort of train these covers to fold the way I want them to. So basically, I think in one of the videos I showed you that I had lined this with napkin onto a book page. I put together 3 little signatures. Of course, they're not sewn in yet. Just quickly flip through. So this is scrapbooking paper. This is a photograph from one of the books that I took apart. And you'll notice as I show you these signature pages in all the books that I've tried to include women of different ages, ability, size, what else? Maybe that's it. Sexuality. So trying to be totally inclusive here and also acknowledging that I'm closer to one end of the spectrum than another. A little quote book, just some pages that are lined that a person can write on, some more quotes, and this came out of a book called The Wisdom of Women. This is another napkin on a dictionary page. And this is an envelope I had. Without really thinking it through, I bought a box full of 6x6 envelopes. And we know that for most journals, that is way too big. So what I did was cut them down with an opening at the top. And this will make, obviously, 2 little pockets. So that clearly needs some work. And just more of the same. Similar kind of layout, so everybody gets an envelope. Yeah, so that is this one. And who knows, when it comes time to bind this thing, I might end up doing from little to big. Let me put that aside. This one, if you saw that video, you know that I had a piece of, I think it was a cover from a sketchbook, and it just seemed too good to pass up, and so that has turned into this. Now, I used a paper clip here to remind me that I should turn this really long paint swatch thing that came out of a paint deck, so over 10 inches, that came out of a paint deck as a tuck spot. I don't want to do that in front because, of course, this glittery chandelier is way too nice to cover. I left another one in here just as a reminder that I could turn it into a belly band or something similar. I have a book, and it's, well, you can see I trimmed it, but I have a book with a lot of beautiful women in it. Full page, large photographs. So again, those don't lend themselves very well to a normal size journal. So I chose 3 different ones to use as signature covers. Now this one also has some planning papers, some regular book pages, a large envelope that will become, well, okay, I haven't cut that open yet, but I would think that this will probably be a tuck and maybe a pocket at the top since there's plenty of room. Just pages, you know, from larger publications that really didn't need too much trimming, if at all. This music page I just folded up so it could become a tuck spot at the bottom. Some lovely flower images. And again, a nod to the older women in the world, in the crowd, in the audience. This came out of the I Shall Wear Purple When I Grow Old book, and I ended up using, oh no, I guess that's the back page. What is this? Oh, I know what it was. I hinged 2 different pages so that I could use that second woman as well. This is from one of the fashion books that I have. It's got, you know, some actual information that may be useful to someone. And then I chose to use this as a centerfold just because I had already cut it out or ripped it out of the book. So this this size and this format of journal page also lends itself quite nicely to use a full-size, maybe even bigger, 9.5-inch envelope. This will become a flip, and again, unless I sort of position some of these things, I'm likely to forget to do them or use them. So that is the reason for that being there. It has nothing to do with, obviously, sewing in signatures, but again, it's a reminder. Second signature will be virtually the same. Here, I really love this, and I wanted to use it, so I'm going to have to decorate that in some way. There, the rest of those little people are. Maybe that's it for that one. That's different. Oh, and this. Oh, I guess I chose to use a difference. Oh, maybe this will have to be in the middle since it's different. I chose, you know, a feminine-looking page out of a book that it was probably, yeah, sort of a book that a mother would fill out about her child, or a history, sort of a family history type thing where someday a child will read it and find out who her mother really was, her mother's likes and interests and so on. I'll just quickly look through here. And again, these pages aren't necessarily aligned the way they will be when the time comes to sew it in. More of the same. Another envelope. Oh, and another centerfold that is... And I tried to fold these pages so that, you know, I wasn't really cutting anybody's face right in half. And that is that for this one. And you will notice that in none of these have I said anything about how I intend to decorate the cover. Now I do, well, I guess with this third one, I do get closer to that point. This was the one that was done with a 9x12 envelope with a lace sandwiched between some of the layers. Now I have a lot of this cut work that was done, and I think, even though that's a black line and this is kind of a taupey brown, I really think that that could work well here on a cover like this. And here is another chunk of the lace that I've used here, and I will probably be ratting that up a bit. So again, I'm just trying to keep these elements together so that I remember what my intentions were. Because you probably know, if you're a journal maker, you probably notice that unless you work something through from start to finish, it's easy enough to forget what your plan was by the time you get back to it. This is what's left of that paper, so I tucked it in here to make sure I use it. I really like this as well, so this might end up being, I don't know where I'll use it. It could even be right here in the cover because it sets a tone as far as I'm concerned. This book is only one signature, or that's my intention at this point. And it has a lot of coffee dyed. Again, it's so long ago that I did this. I think this is probably baking paper. Wait, what do we call it? Parchment. This is some paper that I had dyed and stamped ages ago. Here's just a page decoration. You saw that in a previous video. Again, kind of went with the bluey, pinky theme here. Doesn't yeah, this is another one of those things that I cut down. Doesn't necessarily maybe go with the cover, but I should show you this. This was one of those desk pad calendars. I have a really large stencil, and it, you know, sort of inspirational words. Grace, sacred, risk, become, sing, soul, play. You know, the kinds of things we maybe need to be reminded of every so often. So I've included that. This will be sewn in, and of course it shows a woman who has a disability of some sort. But, of course, should be included here as well. Coffee dyed paper through I can't remember if that was a stencil or a tablecloth, plastic, placemat thing. Motherhood is part of the experience for many women. Writing paper, more stamping, and again, I just love that. But it is light enough that a person could write on it if they chose to with a black pen or, well, whatever color. Or maybe I'll end up clipping something to it. More parchment. This was an image out of a book that I think will become probably a pocket, or did I intend it on this page? I'm not sure. I guess that'll be a decision to make at that point. Again, I folded this multiple times, and you can probably see it's a really old, it's probably from the 40s, but I wanted this here as a reminder that I've got to make that flippy flappy thing happen. More of the same. Another book page. Oh, return from the christening. And that does it for this one. Now, whether or not I can't remember what the page count was on it, and I won't take time to do that now, but you can see that at this point, without having added anything, it's kind of, it's getting up there. Okay, and then the biggest one, the initial one. This was my first plan. And again, if you saw the very first, or maybe it was the second video, I said that it was done with a grocery bag, a paper grocery bag. So the way it's set up, or my plan at this point, is 7 signatures, and you can see that if I needed to, I could make this overlap a lot shallower and give the book room to expand. So this will be probably the trickiest one to sew in. Number one, because there isn't really an obvious and easy to locate place for the spine. But when the time comes, I will make a template. I know from watching other people's videos that, you know, some people just choose to always have an odd number of signatures because it's easy enough when you're making your template and making the holes and all of that to center the middle one and then work out from either side of the center. So, and of course, I guess if this is a wider pocket than this is, if I had to, turn this, release some stitching and turn this back or whatever, I might have to do that depending on how this ends up. I had some, the colorful signature covers here are from Ideals magazine. At least I think so. Yes, sirree. And, they're lovely, usually full page illustrations. The paper is matte, so it seemed like a good choice. Again, more images. We know that little girls will grow up to be women, so these girls can be included in the book as well. This is a napkin that I put over index paper. It's a look that I really like because I like the detail and the structure of index pages. Music, 1930 something paper, something that I had stamped. Coloring paper, one of those planners, ledger that will either be a fold out or a pocket. Random pages. Here's an atlas or road map index. And again, I don't know, maybe, you can probably tell that I folded this multiple times because I kept changing my mind about how I was going to do this. So that will probably either have to have something attached to it, perhaps an envelope or something else, or be decorated in some way to disguise that, perhaps. And then some 1/4-inch grid paper. And then, of course, the flip side to all of those. Maybe I'll pick another one just randomly that doesn't have the cover sheet. This is more tea-dye paper. This was a scrap of cardstock, glittery, feminine scrapbook paper. And clearly it broke when I folded it, so that will probably need to be reinforced. That will need to be reinforced in some way. I just wanted to use it to know that I never have to handle it again, and because it fits so perfectly here. More of the same. Oh, here I used, again, a napkin-covered index page. This time I've used this one with all the perfume bottles and rouge and lipstick. One of my fancy size, 6-inch envelopes. It's all the same. Okay, and I'll just show you probably this one as another one. Anyone who's looked in the, in the mirror, looked down and seen this crepey skin knows that it's probably in everybody's future if you are lucky enough to live that long. So I wanted to pay homage to this woman. Different pages here. Another one of those female images out of a planner type book. This is out of a fashion book. Got some parchment in there. And essentially that is, there's another one there. I think with all of these, yes, I had to reinforce them and hinge them. So that's that. I won't bother going through the others. Chances are that, you know, we'll revisit this at some point in the future. Again, the decorating of this cover will come last because I have no idea exactly where this thing might end. I do need to, I need to make a note or grab some ribbon and remind myself that I do want to, at least on some of these, sew in a ribbon bookmark, because I know that I like that feature in the books that I use, so maybe other people do as well. So I'll set that aside. One of the things that I'm considering, and I don't know for which journal, this was vellum overleaf that came from one of the books that I took apart. So I would clearly like to use that in some way. And this is an IKEA print that, you know, they have in their sort of in their art and framing section. I think it's a few years old, so I don't know if it's still available or not, but I do love the painterly look of it and the graphic and simple nature. So I'm just clipping these together again to remind myself that there are possibilities here for a cover design when I reach that point. Trying to think what else you haven't seen, and if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. These are just some other pages that I had folded up. Oh, I know what it was. I removed where did I put them though? Somewhere here, I have the quotes that were part of these pages. And this design was such that it could work this way. So I don't know what will happen with these, but they're here and ready to go. These were some other stamped images that I had done on gessoed paper. So again, that might just end up getting tucked into something. This is a digital that I printed. I don't remember where I got this, to be honest, but this could easily turn into something that gets put into a pocket. More quotes. Okay, what am I doing here? That could be another device, another interactive feature. So you saw a lot of these images in the things I've shown you so far. So I chose to, again, multiple folds, trying to figure out what I'm doing. Let's see how tall these are. 7 3/4. Oh, different widths apparently. These may end up being belly bands or pockets or wide bookmarks or who knows, but again, they stand ready to be used in some way. This is another photograph from one of the books. I like it, and I guess I intend to use it in some way. Young women, fiercely competitive, athletic, fit, you know, the kinds of things that we all hope for. More stamped images on book page. So again, how or if these get used is unclear at this point. Another one of these. So, like, before I turned on the camera, I tried to go through this and make some semblance of order here because I know that it can be, well, number one, I needed to refresh my memory as to what I had, what I'd done, and it can be annoying and discombobulating to viewers when it seems that the person doesn't know what they're talking about. So anyway, some glue to remove here. I won't pick at it while you're watching. These are taller images out of a McCall's, a new McCall's pattern book, and that's about 10 inches. So I probably should tuck these into that tall journal just because I don't want to cut anybody off at her knees. So I'll put this in with this one, hoping that maybe it can be used in some way. This is probably another thing that should stay with, let me just quickly fold it, that should stay with this taller journal. I might, actually that would be a good thing to do since I like index pages. I should decoupage some napkin onto here, onto these pages. They're kind of glossy, and that way I'd have a couple of those to put into this journal as well. Whoopsie, I think I can afford the space. Anyway, before I do any more damage, I'll just leave that like that. What is this? Let's move this out of the way. Okay, another book page. May or may not get used in some way. One of the old magazine ads. Something I fussy cut. A couple things I fussy cut. Okay, so I don't know about these things, but since I went to the trouble of fussy cutting them, hopefully, well, I guess if they're not used in any of these books, they will be in a future one. Okay. Let me just bring this up for a second. I do have other photographs. This one, of course, is significant in that we know that interracial things used to be a no-no. So there's a social commentary there. Not sure how YouTube feels about nudity, so we won't bother showing you those. This is another really cool image because, of course, multi-generational. There are some more very hard-working hands. So I do want to use that one somewhere. I think before I showed you this pouch that has a lot of women in paintings. There's a feminine napkin. Hey, that feminine napkin. I misspoke there. And fussy cut fashion and accessories. So those things no doubt will get used again somehow. What do I have in here? Oh, I'll show you this in a second. I've also gathered around me, and this is, trust me, this is just a fraction of what I have. Some clusters that I think are kind of cool in that they have gems on them. And I love making clusters, but do I ever think of using them? No, I don't. So this is here, waiting as a reminder. These are little, and I wish I would have written down the woman's name. I saw a video, months ago, where the woman was using a tiny bit of felt in between a little snippet of fabric. So this is what, 2 inches, sort of slow stitching it closed. You can see the stitches on this one easier than you can on this one. And then attaching a charm of some sort, or this is part of an earring. Charm, lace. Even, well, these were, I intended as sort of button tabs. And I don't know, to be honest, if my spacing here is good or not. You can see on this one, I've left more room, on this one, far less. So, although I suppose if this got glued to a page, that would be okay. I could position it the way I wanted to. So there are all kinds of goodies like that in here. Yeah, I was on a kick and did many, many, many. This one is done on ribbon. This one is done on some lace with, yeah, white felt in between. And the felt just serves to give it a you know, sort of a plusher feel. So that is standing nearby. From Artie Mays, I bought 1 million tickets that I fussy cut out. Now, are these doubled? No, they're not. So clearly, there are going to be tickets used in these journals. So that is front and center here as well. I think I showed you before that I have these sort of women themed Post-its, and of course they're not really Post-its, so you know, questionable how well they're actually going to stick or not. Here's some, there's, well, money and a purse and shoes. So several of I'm keeping these nearby so that they can, I wouldn't trust the glue to, or the glue to hold, but I would, you know, glue them down or use them when embellishing. So that is standing by. In this bag, I've put a few of the some makings for, excuse me, for some snippets. So these are labels that I bought. There's some bulb pins, you know, thinking that these would be a good way to, a good reminder that, hey, you know, make some dangles, make some of these little things. So I've grouped that together. Trying to think what else I need to show you. You saw, maybe, that this is all I have left of the cover fabric. This is all that's left in the whole wide world, or at least in my house. And so I intend to use this in some way. I suppose I could sew a ruffle or who knows what. So there's that. I'd made a couple of little notebooks, and, you know, talk about doing things sort of backwards. I put them all together, and then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to sort of dye them? So that's why they're kind of wrinkly looking. But again, they need some work. Now, let me think. You will not yet have seen one of, or I actually have 2 parts, to an antiquing haul that I recently did. And in part, I think it was part 1. Anyway, I don't know. You have to watch both. Talk about a cliffhanger. In that, whichever video it was, in a bag, a miscellaneous bag of lace that I bought, there were all these, I think they're 4 inches. Yeah, roughly 4-inch samples, lace samples that were glued to these blue cards. And I'm assuming that they were salesman samples. So the other day I sorted them kind of by width, you know, with these being the narrowest and so on. So I'm bound and determined that I'm going to use these to decorate things. So that's why they're here, as a reminder. There was also this little thing. So, oh, I should add this to my little snippet, my little dangly bag. I also have some really cool washi tape with all those women's faces on there, so that must be used. No, I can't remember. I hope, well, I can't remember if I've shown you this or not. Oh, okay. Maybe you've seen this, maybe not. This was part of the hashtag color combo 2023. I don't remember what week it was, but it was blue and gray. So I chose to use one of my gals there in the window and a paint chip and some washi, another paint chip. I guess I backed that. I backed each of them just because it's time to use them. And this was probably never mentioned in a video, but I had bought a couple of these, I guess they were basically hankies, and they had rows in each corner. So I ripped them up, glued them to some dyed paper, card type paper, and then messy stitched around it. So those will get used. What else is in here? Some of this stuff I know I definitely showed you before, so I won't belabor the point. Oh, I also found some postcards, probably very shiny, but aren't those just gorgeous? No, actually, I took pictures of some jewels in my own walk-in closet. Oh, I think I showed you these Glamour Girls. What I had done, I didn't know if I was going to embellish them or not, but I chose to add a snippet and some bling. I think I gave all of them some earrings. Now, these will probably end up being clipped because it could be a bit of a problem getting something this thick into a pocket. So those will definitely be clip-ons. This is really a tall one. This could end up being, yeah, 7.5. This could end up being, a couple of these could end up being belly bands. Oh, looky here. This came off and needs repair. I'm sure I used, or I thought I used Fabri-Tac. I think you've seen everything else. I did, this is part of that magazine. This one is harder. I think this was the cover. Looks like I backed it and then zigzagged around it. And I'm thinking that in the right book, which may be the one signature book, this will probably end up being included as a writing board. Okay, so that brings you up to speed on this little container. Put this aside to fix. I have some more stamped. This is a bookmark that I intend to, because it's two girls. Oh, I didn't realize somebody wrote all over the back. Yeah, I'm going to have to back that, change this tassel. Oh, I should dig out some of my tassels and remember to use them. Some more stamped on fabric images, and a couple more of these that could be toppers. Too wide, but and maybe too deep as well. Anyway, so there is some work to be done with these items. Didn't plan on doing that today, so we'll just keep them together for the time being. Okay. I will show you. Oh no, that's what how come I have two piles going here? I'm asking you guys as though you would know the answer to my thought process. Not likely. Okay, I'll just show you what's in this little box. This is some stuff that I've done since last time. Oh, I've done nothing with this. These probably need to be sewn around. They're sort of prompt cards from wherever that I've backed. So that needs work as well. I've sewn around many of the photos that I want to use. And this gal is kissing herself in the mirror. So it's that whole self-love thing. This is something that will be, well, something. This is something. This is a pocket, and I've just left those little flaps there. Excuse me. Aren't those old gals kind of sweet? This will be a pocket. I don't know yet. I'll probably decorate that in some way. So it could be 2 pockets, you know, glued to a page. Not totally sure what else will happen there. Here is another pocket with these little wings that will be glued back. I chose one of these to turn into a pocket. I showed you this before. They still need decorating, so I should add that to my to-do pile. This is a to-do also. And again, I reserve the right to add more to these when I'm actually putting them into the book. I'd shown you these before. These are, again, more of those beautiful napkins. And I do have this as part of my Paris napkin bundle in my Etsy, in case you're interested. I backed them. And no, I guess they were, yeah, they had been done on this sort of marbly cardstock. I sewed around them and, you know, clearly they need something more. Maybe I'll add eyelets or who knows. So that's on the to-do pile. This is just here's a reminder to make sure I use them. These, I really like these. I can't remember. Oh, I think this was End Papers, maybe. I love this little pattern. I inked around it and did nothing else. I guess I stamped it. Use it, woman, use it. These are so, oh, here are those quotes that I was talking about. So they're rather wide, so we'll see if they can be used or not. And more of those ads that I haven't backed yet. Maybe I don't need any more of those. This is, again, part of that cover to become a, I'd say maybe a bookmark. And this is another tall gal that could become, with a little bit of, you know, selective collage, could become a belly band because it's heavier. Oh, I backed it with some. And did I use the right side showing? No, I didn't. Anyway, so that is that. Now, how are we doing for time? Ooh, 43 minutes. Okay. Oh, one other thing. Don't you love this cigar box? I don't even remember when I got it, but I love it. In here are all the gals that I fussy cut. And you can see there are a million different colorways. There's the bridal package. I just love them. And I'm keeping this with all my other stuff so that I remember to use them liberally in my embellishing. Okay. I also have this. It probably needs a little bit of cleaning up. Anyone who's taken a book apart will know that these are some of the guts this is the spine. This one came out relatively intact, so maybe I'll put that with Hardanger and Lacey one. Well, anyway, I'll keep it together with this stuff so that I remember to use it when I'm making something for the front cover. Okay, so what I thought we could do together, I've sort of prepped things again because I'm aware of how precious your time is, and I don't want to waste it having you watch me cut. This is really pretty. I don't know. Is this beautiful or is this kitschy? I do not know the answer to that. I should just bring in one of these things so they wreck my, dirty my. So I guess I intended this to be a side pocket. So I was planning on just gluing this down, thinking that, you know, I'm not sticking to a very strict color scheme here. So I can certainly, let's see, how are we doing size-wise? 7.5. So that would be good in most journals. So, well, instead of talking about it, why don't I just do it? Do it, do it, do it. Okay, so let me also pull in my glue stick. Because of the price of art glitter, well, art glitter glue or Fabri-Tac, where I can get away using glue stick, and this is a good one. Where I can get away using glue stick, I do. Oh, goodness. Just because it makes my crafting dollar go further. Okay, so I'm going to... Oh, I glued that string down that I can't seem to get rid of. I'm going to... Maybe a bead of Fabri-Tac would be the best. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that you're following this series. And I hope that you may even be choosing to craft along. Maybe that should be the plan for next time. Since I've done a lot of prep work, the next few videos in this series are probably going to be more doing rather than talking about doing. Now, the only way to get your fingers good and gluey is to dig right in and press down. And if you have invested in Fabri-Tac, you know that it does an incredible job of adhering. I'll let that dry before I trim it. One down. The other thing I had done, and maybe I showed you, maybe I didn't, is I had a number of these black and white things, journal cards. Oh, I say I backed them all on coloring book paper. So let's say you don't journal on them, you color them instead. Anyway, I had prepped a bunch of those, and for today, I prepped them. I had glued them down, I zigzagged them, and then I pulled together some elements that I want to use. Now, of course, I've forgotten. Since I did this, I've forgotten what my ultimate plan was. I know that I've got, well, maybe, I guess they're not all the same. Everyone's going to be, it's like a box of chocolates. Everyone is going to be slightly different. So I've got some of this black and white lace. I've got a little bit of vellum. I don't use vellum nearly enough. This is also out of a vintage magazine. This is a page number or something that I got from a magazine, and there is a word. Now, I deliberately tore it so the white edge shows, because frankly, I like that. So maybe, we don't want to cover her face, so maybe we'll cover this gal's dress. use a bit of that. Put this here and this here. Oops, the vellum is covered. See, this is the slow part. Okay, bite the bullet and just do it. Vellum is, you probably know, a tricky material to work with, and that's probably why I avoid it quite a bit, because the minute you get it sort of wet with glue, it wants to start curling up. So by putting it at the bottom, maybe I'll just put glue right on here rather than try to get it on the lace. And if I, again, I don't mind if little edges flip up, because then it just, to me, that enhances the look. I'm not inking anything. Let's add this gal. That might have been a mistake. I guess I'll see how well she sticks down, because if she doesn't, I'll end up having to use a better glue, since it's kind of, you know, a bit bumpy under the, with the lace there. This teal color is kind of a recurring element in a lot of the stuff, because it was the color off. It was the color off one of the books that I deconstructed, a fashion book. Oops. Okay. Typically when I've glued something like this down, I will just slip these under my desk blotter, crafting mat, all these layers that I'm working on, because it helps them dry flatter. Okay, so in this one, we've got more wide open space. So I'm thinking I'm going to put this here, maybe this across here. Do I even want the vellum? Force yourself to use the vellum. Oh, see how I got that on my desk? Oh, on the weekend, well, of course, we don't know when you're watching this, but I got frustrated with how things were set up around here, and how this interest, business, hobby, whatever you want to call it, is taking over the house. So when I couldn't sleep, I came up with a plan and have executed it to some degree. And so I got my husband to, excuse me, jerry rig a new system for using my gooseneck camera holder or phone holder over my primary work surface, which is my desk. So he had to, you know, avoid or remove one of the factory parts and, like I say, create something else using some metric screws and some little wood blocks and so on. Excuse me. So it is big, so it's strong enough that it actually clips to something on my desk. I have an antique desk, wooden, fairly large, I would say, that has two pull-out, not cutting boards, but you know, those pull-out things that on either side, above each bank of drawers, and they are excellent for providing an extra work surface. And so I didn't want to, you know, drill holes in it or do anything, you know, really crazy to this beautiful old desk. By the way, I bought it years ago for $40 or $45 at a thrift store. Steal of a deal. Anyway, so I am back taping this at my desk because I rearranged some of the furniture here in the studio office. Excuse me. I have I moved a large antique cabinet that was blocking some of my east-facing window. So there's more natural light coming in, and I'm using a couple of lamps here anyway. Let's switch it up a bit. So we will see how this works. Hopefully the camera is more above and to the front of me, which means that now I can open big things without hitting the camera and jarring you. It saves me either duplicating everything, tools, or dragging everything from here to there. These are cut out of, I think pattern books, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how this works. Now, the only thing is, I'm still struggling with how to get as much of my essentials, as many of my essentials as I possibly can within reach, which, when you think about it, could be kind of crazy thinking, because we know that sitting is considered the new smoking. In other words, the detrimental health effects of too much sitting are just as bad as the detrimental effects of smoking, which used to be the big curse, and now sitting is the new enemy. So on one hand, all of us, and I'm speaking for all of us because I think it's true, all of us want as much as possible within reach. Number one, to be efficient, and number two, to not have videos go on for days. But on the other hand, that the closer we bring everything, the less we have to move, to stand up, to walk across the room, to even stretch. So I'm trying to find a balance between those two things. Oh, I missed I was going to add this little sticker, this little speech balloon. Again, because it's got a black and white thing. And of course, like most other people, I'm not trusting that it's going to adhere on its own, so that's why I'm adding the glue stick. One of the things that came to my mind as a possibility for making, like I mean, long before I started doing this, I had, you know, a million books, and they were on whatever subject matter. Ooh, oh, sorry. I just about ripped her sleeve off. On whatever subject matter I happened to be interested in at that moment, that month, that year. So a lot of books, a lot of floor-to-ceiling bookcases. I've moved them, you know, a few times just to because a person thinks, oh, this is going to work better, or you just to change things up. And because of all the who's got time to read? Who's got time to read anymore? I know that I don't. Especially fiction. So I got rid of, I mean, months ago, in fall, I guess, or even summer, I started going through all my titles. I offered them to my daughter. She took whatever she wanted. And then I know that to one charity place, I took 9 boxes. And that doesn't really touch what we're talking about here. Anyway, fast forward to yesterday. I got it in my mind, and usually when I get an idea, I act on it. Let's cover her cleavage. I acted on it. I don't, fool around. I don't think it through. I don't fool around. I just get on with it because I'm thinking this is a good idea, so just do it. So what I did was I emptied a bookcase that would be 7 feet tall and 48 inches wide. Emptied it. Just moved my problem someplace else. I actually made multiple piles on this chaise lounge that we have in the living room. So over the next days, weeks, we'll be going through those titles one by one. Some I know are, straight donation. Some I hope to recoup some money on by maybe offering them to a place that buys titles, that buys, used books. And, just being rid of it since it no longer serves me. So that's that plan. So I actually took a picture this morning, and I'll probably put that on Instagram, which is a good reason to follow me on Instagram. You'll get to see that monster pile of books. And so then I moved that into the bedroom, and that bookcase, Roy and I, we moved it into the bedroom. So of course, I then started putting books on it that are more related to what I'm doing now, and actually grouping them. Because, when you buy these things kind of one haul at a time, one thrifting outing at a time, they tend to be everywhere. So I have some very beautiful bird books, but they're everywhere. And a person forgets what is where, and it's just not it's not conducive to working efficiently. So I put all the well, let's not get carried away here. I don't want to brag about something when it isn't necessarily true. I put all the cookbooks that I could lay my hands on one shelf, I think. I have oversized coffee table books, a variety of topics, on another shelf near the bottom, because I'm thinking these are so heavy, I don't need to have something collapse in the middle of the night and scare the bejeebers out of me. Maybe 3 shelves of flower books. And that's everything from books on, house plants, gardening, illustrated books like Edith Holden, tiny little field guides, like you name it. Some of them are so big and so heavy that it kind of defies logic almost. I don't know who they think these monsters are. They're carrying around these books or putting them on their laps to read. Anyway, that's beside the point. I started doing that, and I actually made a lot of headway, and I had to, because the whole bed was covered with this stuff. So it was kind of important that I get it done. Otherwise, I'd have had to stay up all night. Oopsie, what is this? Oh, a little word. Another a gal from an ad. Oh, I wonder what my intention was with this. I could do that. Lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so I was doing all of that. I also have a couple of filing cabinets. One legal sized, one letter sized. The legal one is out in the open. The letter sized one is in my wall-to-wall closet here. I have signatures in them. I have dyed papers. I have master boards. I have digitals, my own and other people's, in there. Like really a bit of a dog's breakfast when you think about it, because what is where. So then I went off on a tangent and I started trying to get those files in a bit of order and move some of the ones from one sized filing cabinet to another, just basically to get this stuff off the floor and, not be too discouraged when I came back in here this morning. So that's kind of how I spent my Sunday. I truly can't believe how much I got done. And I'm also deluding myself in thinking that there isn't much more to do. So I guess we will, it's a process. And I never like to be too critical. I have to check the time here. I never like to be too critical of myself, at least in this department, because I believe that I'm doing the best I can at this moment with this expertise and the current state of affairs here. Okay, I'll stop there. I have several more to do that I've already clipped together and planned for. This one is I was just going to attach lace. I'll probably do this as soon as I turn the camera off. Continue to work on this. Anyway, I was saying that I think we need to forgive ourselves for not getting it right and not getting it perfect the very first time, because our needs, our experience, our work habits change and evolve, and so does our setup need to evolve. I think there's value in doing it also because treasures are rediscovered, and that's always a good thing. Maybe there's a bit of shock value there as well when a person thinks, if I never buy another craft supply, I will still be busy for the next umpteen years. So I will stop there. I hope you join this or are engaged by this process of honoring women through these series of journals. Oh, see, my thing about subscribing, liking, sharing is at the other taping area. Pretend you saw it. Yes, I would very much appreciate if you would subscribe. If you would, once you subscribe, if you've watched the videos, and if you would comment on them. The next several videos, well, there is a playlist for this series, the Celebration of Women Journals, so you'll be able to find them there if you missed earlier episodes or kind of want to see the evolution of this project. There are other playlists as well. I just thought it was smart to try to set these up as I go. So there's a thrifting one. There's one for the Color Combo 2023 hashtag. Can't remember the others at this moment. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. This video went on longer than I originally intended.